Let us pray. Almighty God, we gather here tonight to celebrate the graduation of these young people and to send them forth into the world. We give thanks for their lives and for their many achievements, and pray that you will look over them as they pursue their future fortunes. We give thanks for their teachers that have guided them throughout the various phases of their education, and pray that others will do so in their time to come. We pray that they always turn to you for counsel and give thanks for your grace. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to Leonardtown High School's 7th commencement. Especially welcome to our parents, platform guests, and friends. I want to express appreciation to our total faculty and staff, our custodians, our secretaries, and especially assistant principals, each one of whom has taken a part in preparing for our young ladies and gentlemen's graduation today. I want to introduce to you our platform guests. Beginning to my immediate left, and I'll ask you to let's recognize these folks as a group, because some of them will be recognized later. You've just heard the Reverend Joseph C. Weaver, who gave the invocation. He will later give the benediction. Miss Michelle, I think if you don't mind, if you people would stand as I announce you. Miss Michelle A. Forrest, a salutatorian. Mr. John McFadden, board president. Miss C. Regina Bowman, class president. The Honorable Stephen H. Sachs, Attorney General of the State of Maryland, our guest speaker. Mr. Brandon Cook, valedictorian. Dr. Larry Lawton, superintendent of schools. Miss Regina Martinez, salutatorian. Mr. William Wagner, board member. Miss Christina Ingersoll, president, National Honor Society. Mr. John Lancaster, board member. Miss Lee Holland, class vice president. Mrs. Eleanor Ritchie, board vice president. Mr. Benjamin Simmons, class sponsor. Mrs. Dorothy Harper, board member. Ms. Carol Montague, class sponsor. And Mrs. Charlotte Somerville, senior counselor. Would you join me in recognizing these folks? Thank you, folks. Our Leonardtown High School faculty, I'd love to call each of them out by name, but some of them are still on duty over there. and we asked them to rush back over here, and they're sitting down in front, and I'm going to ask them to stand at this time and be recognized. Leonardtown High School faculty, please, would you stand? We're very pleased to have with us some people that I want to give special introduction to, and these are not in any special order. They're in order of that I have them on this list as we checked them as they came into the gate. But I ask you again to hold the applause until we recognize them as a group. But I'll ask them to stand and remain standing, if you would, until they're all recognized. Mr. John Ryan, Director of Curriculum and Instruction. These folks are all over in this section. Mr. Dennis Yonkin, Director of Fiscal and Administrative Services. Mr. Dwight Shackles, Principal of Chautauqua High School. Mrs. Zora Samasco, Principal of Great Mills High School. Mr. George Sullivan, Principal of St. Mary's County Technical Center. Brother Richard Angarola, Principal of St. Mary's Riken. Mr. George Kirby, Principal of Leonardtown Middle School. Mrs. Dolores Fleming, Supervisor of Instruction. Mr. George Ord, Sr., County Commissioner, St. Mary's County, Maryland. The Honorable John Slade from the Maryland delegation. Mrs. Mary Bell, Clerk of the Circuit Court. And Ms. Shelley Krejci, Leonardtown High School's President of the Student Council Association. May I ask you to recognize these folks. I'll ask the audience at the end, that procession was so beautiful coming in, you couldn't have done it better, folks. With one practice, it was great. I'll ask you, audience, please to remain at your seats until all of the graduates have left in the recessional. The graduates and their parents and their friends are invited to a reception immediately after the recessional in the school cafeteria. I have a special apology to make on the program. We had the wrong board president, so our president is Mr. McFadden, not Ms. Harper. She's a former president. We're sorry about that. A couple of special things going to happen tonight. One of our graduates, Dean Gass, had an automobile accident, has broken his leg, so we're very pleased that his dad will be coming up here tonight to receive his diploma. Dean called me this morning from the hospital and said he's going to be back at St. Mary's, down to St. Mary's Hospital tomorrow, so you'll be able to see him. He asked me to give you this message, and I quote, he wishes the class good luck on their way of doing better every day. We'll be at St. Mary's Hospital on Thursday, May the 29th. That's a message from Dean. I want to give special thanks to the beautiful job that was done by Nicola Thompson, a junior class president, and a junior, Danny Scher, carrying the Maryland flag. The reception, which is being held for the graduates, has been catered by the Student Council Association and the junior class. And we thank sponsors, the Assistant Principal, Mrs. Martin, and the sponsors of this Student Council, and Shelley noticed that I've adopted your terminology, Mr. Webster and Mrs. Wood, and the junior class sponsors, Ms. Rellahan and Mr. Studdy. The reception for the platform guests was coordinated by Mrs. Shackles, home economics instructor, Mrs. Hooper, our media specialist, and Mrs. O'Neill, foreign languages. The class of 1986 has weathered well the practices and been extremely cooperative. I have really a good feeling about it. There were originally 266. Today we have 264 graduating and 261 in the ceremony. I say they are truly a great class. In their will, they had left me a ticket to Paris to buy a new wardrobe from Gucci. I'm going, and also a chill pill. That came from Gina after the first practice. I always get excited at the first practice. They have chosen this group as their motto, resolved today to do no less than one small step towards success. And I don't think they could have chosen a higher goal. They have two songs, We're Going All the Way, and they do. They go all the way. And then, until I see you again, and I sincerely hope that I do, as we do cross paths frequently out there in the future. The White Rose is a special rose, and the class president and officers were wondering if the fellows would be willing to carry it too. And I said, well, they do it in Germany, they do it in Russia, they do it in England. Why not here? But it's really pleasing to see it, and it is a special meaning. The white rose, above all, I think, signifies a sense of purity. It signifies a sense of high achievement, I believe, if we look it up. In this class, we have some fine achievements, and I'm going to ask these people to stand, and I'm going to overlap their recognitions. But first I want to recognize the top academic achievement awards and ask them to stand. Now, valedictorian Brandon Cook, salutatorians Michelle Forrest and Regina Martinez. Now, I'm going to ask you to stay standing because I'm going to ask to join them, those graduates who were recognized by the Maryland State Scholarship Board as distinguished scholars. It includes these three, plus Timothy Medell. Tim, stand please. Right, we'll recognize them all together. And Misha Cortina. These five people were recognized by the Maryland State Scholarship Board. Now, all of you please stay standing because I'm going to move right into the Presidential Academic Fitness Award, which includes these and others. Julie Andrews, please stand as I call you. Lori Batwinis, Elizabeth Dubray Beasley, Catherine Bowman, Joseph Cerrito, Brandon Cook, I already got him, Scott Drake, Dwayne Engel, Leonard Ferris, Michelle Forrest is already standing, Scott Hanna, John Hurd, William Higgins, Bruce Hislop, Jacqueline Hodges, Lee Holland's already standing, Christina Ingersoll, David Knott, Timothy Medell is already standing, Regina, Dana Mattingly, Jerry Mattingly, Echo Nash, Catherine Phillips, David Shug, Jamie Spence, and James Thomas Jr. Would you join me in joining these people, please? Thank you very much, folks. Have a seat if you will. In this class, seniors have been accepted to the following schools: Brigham Young, Charles County Community College, Clemson University, Concord School of Art, Delaware State, Florida State, Freed Hardeman, Frostburg State, Hagerstown Business College, Indiana University of Pennsylvania, Jacksonville University, Lincoln Technical Institute, Maryland College of Art and Design, North Carolina AT&T, Pensacola Junior College, Pomona, Salisbury State, Southeastern Academy, St. Mary's College of Maryland, Towson State, University of Connecticut, University of Maryland, Baltimore County, University of Maryland, College Park and the Eastern Shore, University of North Carolina, University of Texas, University of West Florida, Virginia Technical Institute, and West Virginia University. They have chosen majors that cross the fields: accounting, architecture, art, biology, business, chemistry, computer science, education, engineering, journalism, marine biology, music, mechanics, pharmacy, secretarial, welding, physics, pre-med, and others. We're extremely proud of them. Many of them have accepted employment, have already started their jobs with the PAX-10 engineering program. As many of them are already signed up for the U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Patuxent River Naval Air Base, Southern Maryland Supply, Guy and Guy Masonry, and a whole list of other places that they have jobs for. And lastly, there's one scholarship that came in after the program was printed. Michelle Forrest received the American Association of University Women's Award. I say, and without any hesitation, that I have never enjoyed working with a group. You see, many of these these young people don't get to know me until graduation time. I get to know a lot of them before that time, but comes that first graduation practices when they start relating directly with me. They don't really know what I'm about, and sometimes I don't know what they're about. But we hope, ladies and gentlemen, that we have served you well. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. I didn't express appreciation to our fine chorus and band, so would you join me in thanking them? Mr. Van Dyke and Mrs. Leopold.
Parents, relatives, friends, distinguished guests, and my fellow graduates, it is an extreme honor for me to address you this evening. For 4 years, my class and I have worked, listened, learned, and grew. Granted to us for the successful completion of the training we received is a diploma entitling each one of us the opportunity to walk whatever path of life we desire. We are given the opportunity to live and express ourselves as unique individuals. Classmates, because each one of us is a unique person, we each possess different aspirations. Attaining our aspirations will fill us with a sense of individuality, accomplishment, and most of all, happiness within ourselves. Sometimes, however, our own aspirations can be hindered, dampened, or not even attempted because we may try to attain the goals someone else has set for us. We may even fool ourselves into thinking we want one thing, but really desire another. Many times, the lure of money and materialistic possessions can shut the door on our dreams also. At times, it will be easier to perform as others want us to than as we want. It will be easier to agree than to disagree. It will be easier to follow than to be an individual. Is it really easier, though? In the long run, will we be able to say, I did this because I wanted to, or because I felt it was the right thing to do? We must not let the door to our aspirations be opened or closed by anyone except ourselves, for we are the ones we have to please. My feelings are expressed by an unknown author's poem, The Man in the Glass. When you get what you want in your struggle for self, and the world makes you king for a day, just go to a mirror and look at yourself and see what that man has to say. For it isn't your father or mother or wife whose judgment upon you must pass. The fellow whose verdict counts most in your life is the one staring back from the glass. When you've gone down the roadway of life through the years and received pats on your back as you pass, your reward will be heartaches and tears if you've cheated the man in the glass. He's the one to please, never mind all the rest, for he will be with you clear up to the end, and you've passed your most dangerous, difficult test if the man in the glass is your friend. God bless you, each and every one.
Parents, teachers, honored guests, good evening. My fellow graduates, congratulations, and welcome to the real world. I, for one, would not call the 4 years we have been through a child's fairy tale journey, but we are now being thrown out of the secure walls of Leonardtown High School into the streets of new challenges, more responsibilities, and frightening uncertainty. However hard we all wish for it to be, I'm afraid the world does not end at the beaches of Ocean City, nor will time stand still to make this an endless, careless summer. The theme of the 1986 yearbook is achieved. This is indeed fitting because the class of 86 worked hard to achieve as an individual, to make the grade, and to shine with the Raider spirit. Today marks a change in direction. All our efforts will now be concentrated on achieving the goals we have set for ourselves. But wherever we may seek these new challenges, whether they are within the familiar boundaries of St. Mary's County or as far away as the other coast, Each of us will find within ourselves the drive to be the very best. I know I won't be the only one who will miss the days when responsibilities meant making it from one end of the building to the other within 5 minutes, or turning in the homework in a clean sheet of paper, or finding the time within the busy social calendars to cram for tests. These responsibilities may sound trivial and comical now, but our whole high school careers were the experiences which shaped us into reliable young adults. Our freshman year may seem centuries ago. We were a little timid and frightened then, and the maze of hallways were even more confusing when filled with other students. Once again, we are in the midst of uncertainty, and this time, no one is giving out handbooks with maps to guide us. But we are also older and more experienced. We don't need anyone's guidebooks anymore because we know on our own which directions to take. Our class spent 4 memorable years together, preparing for the challenges, responsibilities, and uncertainties of life. But it is time to part company. When the fun dies out and we go our separate ways, I wish for all of us the very best in the fulfillment of our dreams. And to quote one of the greatest revolutionaries of our time, John Lennon, we all shine on.
Honored guests, faculty, and fellow graduates, welcome. The valedictory speech is intended as an opportunity for the valedictorian to offer some sage advice to the members of his graduating class. For the past couple of weeks, I've been struggling to grasp some bit of wisdom, some great truth that I could reveal about our high school years. Unfortunately, I found that I was not much wiser than last year's salutatorian, who enlightened everyone with insights like, knowledge is useless unless you use it. In these past 2 weeks, though, I couldn't help thinking of the significance of my high school years, as many of you are probably thinking of yours. All this thought of the past and future brought to mind something that a Notre Dame professor said. The half-life of unused knowledge is approximately 6 months. This observation was taken one step further by the great philosopher of the 20th century, Father Guido Sarducci, who said that the residual knowledge of 5 years of half-lives can be summarized in 5 minutes. I'm sure that no one doubts the truth of this. You've been going through high school in a cycle of acquiring knowledge, using it, and subsequently forgetting it during summer vacation. Although it wouldn't hurt to retain all of this knowledge, the loss is no great tragedy. I have no doubt that I will, like everyone else, be a victim of this syndrome. When I think of chemistry and physics classes, I might not remember Carnot's proof or Goethe's nature philosophy, but I will have no trouble recalling the exam study parties we had, at which studying was not necessarily done. The intricate phone network that inevitably ended with me earning the title Chem Hotline, and the amazing ability of certain teachers to always call on you to answer a question when you didn't know the answer, and to never call on you when you did. Now that I'm no longer part of the high school band program, the solo in the 10th movement of Carmina Burana may not just roll off like it sometimes did this year, and my marching will certainly be a good deal less graceful than it was when football season started. I will always remember, however, the seemingly endless rehearsals, the sometimes elitist camaraderie, and the feeling of creating something often bordering on the magnificent. I know that some of these experiences may not be familiar to you. That doesn't matter, though. What is important is that high school provided an opportunity for these experiences. I think that they are really what a high school education is all about. The relative success or failure of your high school years, then, is not determined by the number of mathematical formulas you have memorized, or even the number of books you have read in English, or your cumulative grade point average. If you can compare yourself now to the person you were when you came to school 4 years ago, and say that you have grown as an individual, you may congratulate yourself on a high school career that was successful. Father Guido Sarducci said that the residual knowledge of 5 years of half-lives can be summarized in 5 minutes. If his theory follows the law of proportionalities, after 5 years you will remember less than 1 second of this speech, and it will probably be the end that you remember. Once again, congratulations on reaching another milestone in your life.
Graduates, would you join the band and chorus, please, at this time? You who. Thank you. They can't do it without you.
Class of '86, ladies and gentlemen, have a couple of responsibilities tonight. One of them is not on the program, but I think we would be terribly remiss if we did not take one moment, since Mr. Johnson spent so much time passing out accolades to all kinds of folks, if we did not take a step backwards for a second and ask Mr. Johnson to stand, and also Mr. George Sullivan. George, please stand. These two gentlemen both are retiring. This is their last year in this business. This class of '86 represents the last class under their tutelage and leadership to graduate from the St. Mary's County Public Schools. And between these two educators and professionals lie almost 60 years of collective experience and work in guiding young people in this business. And I think we owe them some recognition for those 60 years. Please join me in. I want to share two thoughts with you. First is a short reflection on the past. About this time these graduating seniors were born, David Halberstam delivered to the bookstores of America a huge novel profiling President John Kennedy's White House staff. And he called that book The Best and the Brightest, and it was about Dean Rusk and Robert McNamara and Bobby Kennedy and the rest of the so-called Irish Mafia. And many Americans today still fondly recall those years of hope and those years of promise, those years of excitement and challenge and exuberance and even innocence. At commencement time every year, I look into the eyes and faces of these young people about to graduate and cannot help but be reminded of the best and the brightest. These young people before us represent this generation's best and the brightest. We're talking about Robbie Odd. We're talking about Julie Andrews and Darrell and Gerald Blackwell and Nathan Cox and Michelle Forrest and Kelly Germain, James Miles, Josie Stateman, the distinguished graduates sitting on the platform, and all of the members unnamed who, equally deserving, represent this beautiful class of '86. Each one of these people sitting before us has an individual story to tell, and all have arrived here tonight wrapped between the covers of their own novel of hope and promise and excitement and challenge and even innocence. The second thought I want to leave with you has to do with the time present. And I hope that everybody here tonight, every parent, grandparent, family member, every graduating student, sometime before this week ends, when this moment is still fresh in your memories, to take the time and to read in tonight's Enterprise the letter to the editor that this class of '86's salutatorian, Brandon Cook, wrote regarding the education in the St. Mary's County Public Schools. I will tell you now, there is no more eloquent statement that anybody could possibly make reflecting this class, reflecting why we're here, and clearly postulating the inescapable fact that a quality education can be had in the school system by anybody who wants it. And to you parents and families, on behalf of the Board of Education, we thank you once again for sharing with us the best and the brightest. And to you members of the class of '86, again on behalf of the board, we extend to you our very best wishes for all the success and happiness you can acquire. Thank you.
Family, friends, faculty, administration, honored guests, and fellow graduates. Our guest speaker for this evening was born in Baltimore on January 31st, 1934. He attended Baltimore City Public Schools and graduated from high school in 1950. He received a Bachelor of Arts degree from Haverford College in 1954 won a Fulbright scholarship to Oxford University, and spent 2 years as an enlisted man in the United States Army before graduating from Yale Law School in 1960. In 1961, Attorney General Robert Kennedy appointed him an assistant U.S. attorney. He served in that capacity until 1964. From 1964 to 1967, he was an associate and partner in the law firm of Tidings, Rosenberg, and Gallagher. After his appointment as United States Attorney for Maryland in 1967 by President Johnson, he concentrated in the prosecution of cases involving white-collar crime and public corruption. From 1970 until his election as Attorney General in November 1978, he was in private law practice in Baltimore. He was admitted to the Maryland Bar in 1960 and to the Supreme Court Bar in 1965. He is a fellow of the American College of Trial Lawyers. He is the recipient of awards and citations of merit from numerous civic organizations and educational institutions. He currently resides in Baltimore with his wife Sheila and their 2 children, Elizabeth and Leon. I now present to you the Honorable Stephen H. Sachs, Attorney General for the State of Maryland.
Thank you very much, Gina. First and foremost, my congratulations to the class of 1986. My congratulations, too, to parents and other family members present. I look out at this fine audience and see the looks of pride and delight on the faces of your families. In some cases, I think I detect surprise, and in 1 or 2, shock that this day would ever come. I recognize that I stand between you and your diplomas, and I will, therefore, be short. Be brief. I am short. I'm not your just everyday run-of-the-mill commencement speaker. I did a lot of research about you. Some things I learned and understand. You had some pretty good sports teams. I read about those chem-free parties. I knew that Mr. Johnson is retiring. I know that the junior-senior prom was excellent according to the imprint, and that Music Man was well received. But there's some things that I didn't understand. The classified ads, for example, in the imprint. I don't know what it means when it says, "Where's Wormy?" I haven't the slightest idea what you're talking about when you say, don't tell me now, guys, tell me later. I don't have the slightest idea what you mean when you write, "Never forget the jacuzzi, Joy." Nor the message, "Derek, we are technically over." I also did my best to comprehend the references in the senior class newsletter, the prophecy, which tells us what has happened to the wayward student of Leonardtown High School's 1986 graduating class. The secrets are finally revealed. I don't know what it means to say that Lori, that Winnis, let her hair grow, has 2.3 children, and attends PTA meetings regularly. Nor why it's considered amusing that Brandon Cook became a dictator of a small South American country. Nor why Michelle Forrest now owns her own vacuum cleaner corporation called Arthur Industries. Or David Kelly became a pro soccer player and does shampoo commercials on the side. And so it goes. The important thing is that you understand, and that these things reflect your humor, your affection and respect for each other. I've suffered through some pretty awful commencement speeches. I've even given some pretty awful commencement speeches. They tend to run to type. A famous statesman once said that in commencement speeches, pompous phrases march across the landscape in search of an idea. You're usually told that society is in crisis and decay. The speaker selects a favorite value of his own, a truth that he holds dear. He tells you to cherish it and go forward with pomp and circumstance ringing in your ears and save all of us. If only you'll believe, we usually tell you. Echoing Peter Pan, we say that everything's going to come out okay. Tinkerbell will come to life. Well, the value that I want to talk to you about for just a few minutes is not really a value of substance at all. It's a value of process. It's called skepticism. My message today is that as you go through the years ahead, don't believe too quickly. Don't trust too readily. Don't accept too easily. You should distrust absolutes and absolutists. You should beware the man or the woman with a mission, the zealot and the true believer. You should remember that the graveyard of history is littered with the bones of people who were sure that they and only they were right or had a pipeline to God. You should ask whether all questions really do have answers, whether all problems really do have solutions, and whether all ideals really are attainable. In a word, I urge you to be skeptical, not cynical, but skeptical. Remember that the unexamined life is not worth the living, and the faith that is questioned is the stronger for it. The truth may not always be what it seems. One of my heroes is Clarence Darrow, a great trial lawyer whom you may recall represented a man called Scopes in a trial in which Scopes was being prosecuted for teaching the theory of evolution against the then law of the state of Tennessee. Darrow said to the jury, "It's not given to man to be sure of the truth. What is the truth? There are no standards, there are no measures. Everything is dumped in on his imperfect brain. He weighs it the best he can and finds out the best way he can whether it's true or false, and he never knows. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, above everything else, cling fast. Men should cling fast to their right to examine every question, to listen to everyone, no matter who he is, to hear the spoken words and read the written words, because if you shut men's mouths and paralyze their minds, then the greatest truth that is necessary for the welfare of the human race may die." Now you may say, well, this is not a very ennobling message to give you on commencement evening. On the contrary, the skepticism I'm speaking about is not some negative, paralyzing, destructive force. It is, or at least it ought to be, exactly what education is all about. You didn't come to this high school like empty vessels to be filled up with knowledge like a glass of water. Or if you did, I hope that's not what happened. Because your minds now are more open than before. You leave here, if your teachers have done their job, and I suspect they have, with a more lively, questioning, exploring intelligence, willing to examine every question fresh, and that you've led the smug self-satisfaction of those who think they knew all the answers behind. To put it very bluntly, you've learned, I bet, that an open mind is a more helpful tool than a big mouth. The skepticism I'm talking about is also really very close to what the American democracy is all about. It really is the heart of the First Amendment, which says that no one man, no one woman, no one party, no one sect, no one race has a corner on the truth. What makes this country work is really the fact that we respect the views of one another, and no one is exactly sure that he or she is right. A famous judge once said that the spirit of liberty is the spirit that's not so sure that it's right. And education, after all, is like this too. Process, form, is often more important than substance. In literature, we call it structure. In art and music, we call it technique. In science, we call it method. In nursing, proper procedure. In athletics, the rules of the game. So, I've told you this evening on this awfully important night in your lives, my own value skeptical questioning. What I haven't told you is that it's sometimes tough in this homogenized world where all beltways and all fast food joints and all shopping centers and all computer printouts look alike. It's tough to stand up and stand apart from the crowd, and it can sometimes be lonely. It takes courage throughout your life to think for yourselves, to cut against the grain, to dispute unreasoning orthodoxy, to ask the questions that others fear to ask. But, like I say, I checked into you a little bit, and I'm willing to bet, from all that I know of you, the Leonardtown class of '86, a class that has taken as its motto to resolve today to do no less than one small step toward success, I'm willing to bet that you, as you leave this fine place, that you will have that courage throughout your lives and throughout your careers. For all of our sakes, and especially for yours, I hope so. Congratulations, good luck, and Godspeed.
Every school spreads its effect in many different ways. One extension of the school's personality and purpose lies in its alma mater. The lyrics to our alma mater were created by Gail E. Scriber, class of 1980. The music was added by Thomas H. Duncan, class of 1984. Gail is, I think, in the audience. Would she please stand and be recognized? The Leonardtown High School Band and Chorus will now perform our alma mater.
I want to give a special thanks to the Honorable Sachs for being with us today and for giving us the excellent talk that he did. Lisa Danielle Abbott. David Allen Abel. David Allen Abel. David Lloyd Abel Jr. David Lloyd Adams. Kimberly Ann Atkins. Joseph Kenneth Albee. Julie Lynn Andrews. Rebecca Jean Andrews. Allison Lou Arick. Lisa Marie Arnau. Mina Johanna Arponen, excuse me. Lisa Marie Ord. Anna Marie Ayers. Susan Ann Bailey. Christopher Mark Ballico. Sonia Antoinette Bankins. Sheldon Anthony Barber. Lucinda Marie Barnes. Lori Ann Batwinis. Karen Marie Bean. Elizabeth Dubray Beasley. William Martin Bentley. Louis Ignatius Berry. Melissa Ann Bisco. Catherine LaDonna Blackwell. Darrell Allen Blackwell. Gerald Edwin Blackwell. James Dale Blackwell Jr. Deborah Denise Bond. Francis Paul Bonds. Thomas Joseph Booth Jr. William Paul Borneman. James Richard Bowles. Joan Marie Bowles. Catherine Regina Bowman. Kelly Jo Bragg. John Keith Brannon. Michelle Renee Brown. Valeria Marie Brown. Maria Brown. Robert Lee Bryson II. Richard Todd Burgess. Jacinta Esther Butler. Michael Wendell Butler. Thomas Delano Butler. Edward Allen Canfield, Jr. Louis Gerald Cargill. Margaret Elizabeth Cargill. Charles Harrison Carnobis. John Wesley Carter III. Billie Jean Cartwright. Joseph Matthew Cerrito. Doris Orlina Chase. Marion Yvette Chase. Laura Lee Chinney. Larry Gene Koblenz, Jr. John Douglas Coons, Jr. Brandon Lee Cook. Rebecca Ann Cornelius. Carol Elaine Costello. Nathan Daniel Cox. Mary Lucinda Cryer. Kimberly Dawn Cullison. Charles Fitzgerald Cumbo. Jeffrey Richard Day. Joseph Kenneth Dykus. Karen Lee Dilworth. David Patrick Dorsch. James Walter Dorsey. Tracy Renee Dorsey. Keith Robert Dove. Scott William Drake. Marjorie Marie Dyson. Dwayne Lee Engel. Thomas Clark Erickson. Robin Elena Everett. David Patrick Farrell. Mary Jean Ferber. Leonard Earl Ferris, Jr. Boyd John Bilardo. Victoria Lee Ford. Eugene Louis Forrest. Michelle Annette Forrest. Kenneth Andrew Fortin. Nana Teresia Berquist. Michelle Lee Gallant. Richard Joseph Garrison. Dean Patrick Gass. Mr. Alan Gass. Kelly Ann Germain. Carl Eckhart Iso Hockelberg. Bobby Jean Gibson. Donald Ignatius Goddard, Jr. Margaret Christie Goddard. Timothy Jerome Goldring. Gina Michelle Goldsborough. Christina Lynn Good. Russell Walker Gordon. Mary Ann Goff. Lisa Ann Gould. Donald Burt Gray. Sharon Lynn Gray. Mark Elliott Green. That's fine, you're doing fine. Are photographers okay, or do I need to hold up? Okay. Susan Ann Green. Tony Morrell Green. Joelle Lynn Gutman. Lisa Rena Guy. Renee Guy. Patricia Lynn Guy. Scott Vincent Hanna. Valencia Denise Hargrove. Tina Marie Harrell. Pamela Renee Hart. John Michael Hurd. Robert Bruce Henderson. William Ito Heslop. Stephen Lee Hewins. Michelle Ann Higgins. William Perry Higgins. Belinda Sue Higgs. Melissa Ann Higgs. Bruce Malcolm Hislop, Jr. Michael Eugene Hockenberry. Jacqueline Michelle Hodges. Paula Sophia Hoti. Lee Valencia Holland. Gerald Anthony Holt. William Edwin Hopp. Cynthia Diane Horton. Elizabeth Jane Hostetler. Jill Carey Hughes. Joyce Helene Hughes. Joseph Anthony Hultman. Michael Gary Hurley. Christina Margareta Ingersoll. Donna Lee Jameson. David Aloysius Johnson. Fred Gibbs Johnson, Jr. Robert William Johnston. Jippa Marie Kalendek. Kristen Kyle. David Scott Kelly. Carrie Jo Knight. David Leon Knott. Thor Morton Kopas. Joseph Dudley Lacey, Jr. Charles Thomas Landrum. Mariana Larson. Timothy Sean Lauterbach. Derek James Lee. Lee Norman Leskinen. Judith Ellen Long. Herbert Goodhue Lord. Timothy Englehart Medell. Adam Talbot Madrone. Faith Malala. Michael Francis Marinelli, Jr. Timothy Allen Martin. Regina Andaya Martinez. Dana Lee Mattingly. Christine Diane Mattingly. Shelley Ann McKenzie. Kimberly Suzanne McLeod. Joanne Lee McWilliams. Tia Monique Michaud. Cheryl Ann Medensky. Crystal Lynn Medensky. Deborah Vanessa Miles. James Perry Miles, Jr. Timothy Warren Miles. Teresa Lynn Miller. Terry Lynn Miller. Keith Allen Millum. Deborah Denise Mills. Laura Lee Morgan. Jerry Michael Morris. Jonathan Allen Murray. Echo Gay Nash. Rhonda Lynn Neer. James Russell Nelson. Young Kwok Win. Annette Michelle Norris. Donna K. Norris. Patricia Ann Norris. Veronica Ann Norris. Gina Faye Oakley. Jeffrey Ronald Opnitsky. Joanne Lynn Onco. Timothy Eugene Pace. Roxanne Parent. Lori Ann Parker. Betty Jean Payne. Helena Frederica Payne. Kimberly Ann Purcell. Catherine Jean Phillips. Jeffrey Lee Pike. Laura Lee Pilkerton. Shirley Potyan. Peggy Jean Price. Karen Ann Quaid. Mesha Nicole Cortana. Christopher Allen Rayleigh. David Arnold Rayleigh, Jr. Robert Ernest Redmond. Audrey Elizabeth Reed. Ella Jean Reeves. Donald Joseph Rice. Kimberly Jean Richard. Sarah Frances Ridgell. Brandy Diane Ring. Stanley Jerome Robinson. Theophilus Joseph Robinson. Christine K. Roach. Joseph Archie Russell. Kenneth Robert Russell. David Albert Shuck. Catherine Marie Spoutinier. Curtis Adams Seltzer III. David Lance Shelley. Christopher Allen Siegel. Carrie Ann Smithers. Jamie Jean Spence. Virginia Lee Spindler. Kirsten Amenta Statesman. Mary Jo Statesman. Mary Tawanda Taylor. Jolie Ann Teachout. Karen Lee Tennyson. James Benjamin Thomas, Jr. James Bernard Thomas, Jr. Mary Parker Thomas. Matthew Niles Thompson. Anne Marie Thorne. Laura Lee Sorgatis. Michelle Lynn Umstead. Michelle Ann Batter. Ellis Kendig Bond III. David James Vermillier. Carol Ann Vincent. Barrett Cole Bookmark. Tammy Jean Waite. Donald Gordon Watham, Jr. George William Watham. Priscilla Lynn Watts. William Bernard Weeks, Jr. Joseph Anthony White. Brian Kenneth Weibel. Marilyn Angela Williams. Scott Anthony Wilson. Glenn Joseph Wood. Bernard Leo Woodburn. Dennis Michael Woodburn. Linda Marie Wright. Michael David Wynn. Audrey Patricia Young. Keith Daniel Young. Stacy Monique Young. Robert LeBron Zook. George Robert Ord. Kim Christopher Bond. Melvin Donnell Butler. David Wayne Hayden. By the power vested in me from the state of Maryland and the St. Mary's County Board of Education, I now pronounce you bona fide graduates of the state of Maryland and St. Mary's County. Please, you may now turn your tassels.
Now listen, God, you're sending these people out into the world, and they'll need your guidance. Bless them and keep them. and make your faces shine upon them this night and evermore. Amen.